So, looking at the sessions we had in the morning, I'm only reminded of the famous slogan of Jai Kisan, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, Jai Vigyan, and then one more Jai Anusandhan was added by our Honorable Prime Minister. So I guess the sessions were all about innovation, sustainability, and at the bottom of it all, center of it all is how do we bring this smile on the face of the farmers. So I guess without saying that, I mean, I wouldn't agree with you, Prashant, saying that the scenario is gloomy. I would say that we all have confidence in the system. We are bringing in the latest technology. So gone are the days when we used to introduce something in some part of the world which used to come very late to India. So we are getting new technologies. We all want at the common minimum program of all the associations here in India is how to get as much innovation, as much technology in the hands of the farmer. That is the bottom line. And we are all trying our bit, and all of us cannot agree more that we need more molecules, latest molecules, new molecules, which help our farmers to fight against the numerous pests, weeds, diseases, and every year it is only increasing. You have newer and newer pests, newer diseases coming. And I guess at the end of the day, we have too few molecules in the hands of the farming community to fight against so many of these pests and diseases. And we need to equip them. So with that, I would summarize that we need faster registrations so that we can get faster technologies in the hands of the farmers. At the end of the day, we all want the farmers to prosper and benefit. It is not only sustainability, but also the fact that the farmers should be profitable. So at the end of the day, we want them to succeed. We want them to be able to access the latest technologies and the new technologies. So with that, I'll stop in my opening statement.
Sir, in short, if we can talk about how we can simplify the registration process, because that is taking a lot of time. And so people are here from the government also. So in short, if we can, in 30 seconds, if we can say, this is what the process should be followed, whether it is followed or not followed, that could be taken care with constant discussions with the respective government authorities.
So I guess there are just 4 things that you need to concentrate on. Have a predictable science-based regulatory system. So that is first and foremost. We have talked about innovations. We have said that secondly, we should have a separate queue for innovations and they should be given an environment where they can thrive. And the third is we have talked about the Internet of Things, and we have IT, AI, drones, all of that. Have a precise policy around maximizing these in Indian agriculture. Fourth is public-private partnerships. So I think this summarizes in your 30 seconds what we need to do, and we need to ensure that there is an enabling environment where all of us, it's a win-win for all of us. So whether it is MNC or domestic, we don't need to go into that debate. All of us are in India for the benefit of the farming communities, and all of us are there to ensure that Indian agriculture prospers.
One last question from you, sir. Another 30 seconds reply. Is where do you rank on the regulatory scenario? Where are we right now? And where do you see it going as chairman of CropLife in, say, another couple of years?
No, there is no question of ranking as far as regulatory system is concerned. So we have identified all the right issues. So all of that, what we are talking about, has been dealt thoroughly. And about, I don't remember last count, Raju will remind me, I think it was 29 regulatory and policy issues that we discussed as a industry all together in front of the regulators. And it's a question of just implementing them. And I'm not saying that it is the regulations alone that needs. you know, we may bring in any technology, any kind of things, but at the end of the day, what we find is we get delayed for, you know, registration certificates. We get delayed for, you know, label expansion. We get delayed for so many other things. It's not the question of technology coming in, but the how do we accelerate? How do we help CIBRC and others to kind of have that capacity building, have new thinking about outsourcing registrations? That will itself bring down the, because most of the times we see that there is a huge clogging of the whole system in the CIBRC, and they are not helped with enough people, enough toxicologists. So this is a repeated cycle which happens year after year. So why can't we set that right? And then we don't, all these issues that we are talking about is just going to go immediately.
Thank you, sir, for your candid views. Now I come to Mr. Suresh Pennadam Jeyakaran sir from Bayer CropScience. And my question to him would be, do we need a overhaul? If yes, how do we simplify that? Whether through process, whether through guidelines, and whether to policies, or whether to product review, and whether through inputs. Short answers to the point.
Thanks, Prashant, for asking this question. And before I proceed, thanks to Dr. Bridges in the previous session. He said that the government is thinking about
Closer.
government is thinking about bringing a separate queue for the new products. It's a welcome move. And not only that, I would say that, like Mr. Ravi mentioned, 2 years before, the government invited all the industry associations to discuss, decide and deliver. That was a very welcome move. And based on this 2 to 3 days of deliberations, we identified various points. Among those points, we have addressed a couple of them, like say e-commerce or drones. But majority of them are all pain points as a part of the regulatory community, what I have seen. So, is there is a scope to revisit and do the things needful? Yes, there is a necessary. I would not say that there is a need for complete overhaul of the system, but I would say that how we can improvise on the existing systems and make modifications or tweaking the systems within the requirement to help us. The example I can say is that, like Ravi mentioned, the operational issues or processes. It takes a long time. Even after I get a certificate, to issue the certificate takes sometimes 6 to 7 months. Or the MRL is not published. Even the certificate is issued, I cannot sell it because the MRL is not published, because it is with the other ministry. So how do you bring these two ministries together? When your farmer wants a new product, I have a product in hand, I'm not able to sell it because of some other ministry's problem. The MRL is not published, right? So that's one point. Like talking about competencies or capacities, Anuja mentioned, Mr. Ravi mentioned, there is a scope. We also discussed as a 3D process that can we think about outsourcing? Thankfully, CIB was ready, but there are other organizations, government organizations who were ready, but they don't want to take the accountability. They say that, okay, I will give this, but I'm not accountable. So tomorrow some regulators ask, I'm not ready to take accountability. So how in a government system we can bring that accountability will help us. Coming to the systems, we talked about few things I would like to mention about the guidelines. Like say, we have been talking with the regulators for past 8 to 10 months about the crop grouping. I would be happy to say that it has come to a stage that crop grouping discussions are happening, and very, very soon we hear that things will happen. But same time, there are minor changes. So when you talk about innovations, making those minor changes in your non-active ingredients is also innovation. Because many times we make those changes to inert, which is safe for the environment. Today, the system doesn't allow me to change. I have to re-register the product again through all the life cycle. Then I ask, the answer given to the regulatory team is that we'll do case-by-case basis. But this is a very dicey term. Case-by-case takes 3 to 5 years, and we don't know. If it is case-to-case basis, one company may be doing, others may not be aware. So can we have a simple guidelines for that? That is important. Regulations, like others mentioned, there is always a conflict which happens between the center and the state. How do we ensure that there is a uniform Many times, the decisions are taken by the states or the center on ad hoc basis, without any consultation, without any merit. And end of the day, people have to go to the court and fight it out. If it happens previously, with the previous discussions, whether it is submission or whether it's any queries, it will help to avoid all the hassles. When we talk about new products, we requested say that if it is a new product, have a separate queue, but it's not enough. Even the existing products which are really innovative, have a pre-consultation meeting. Right now what happens is I have to submit all my dossier together and the queue forms. But other than bioefficacy, all the other data is available with me. So can we enable to put in the system so that all the other experts, they give their views on only bioefficacy residue is awaited. Once it is completed, you take it forward. So that way you can reduce the timelines. The last point which I want to mention is that there is always a time lag after the regulators CIP discuss, it goes to ICR again to ask for comments. So when the universities are under the ICR purview, sometimes you don't understand why it goes back to ICR asking for comments, which takes 3 to 6 months. So we requested, we suggested that can we have a uniform or standardized protocols for all kinds of products, herbicides or insecticides or fungicides, which is developed by ICR and authorized by CIB. Then all the institutes, all the working, whoever is doing, they'll be easier. We save at least 6 to 8 months there. So if we make these simple changes, right, we will be able to have a better function, right, better productivity, and faster molecule approval. So this is from my side. Thanks for my...
One additional question to you, sir, is time-bound registration.
Yeah.
We saw in Corona, pharmaceutical industry, we got our, what we can say, vaccination in a quicker time because that was the need of the hour. So what according to you is the ideal time for this registration process to culminate so that the product can be launched in the market?
It is already defined by the government and regulators. 3 to 4 years is the timeline for a new product. But we know that it doesn't happen. It takes 7 to 9 years.
So is it because of capacity building problem?
Yes,
or
it is because of capacity constraint. It is also because of various, we talked about how can you outsource and get it faster, or we can have a separate evaluation mechanism. So if you do all those things, I am fairly certain that this can be reduced. And it will also help the regulator to a certain extent. Right now, other than I'm saying from regulatory perspective that other than looking at the files, they have to go and attend the court cases, they have to go and attend the queries being asked by the parliament. So sometimes they are constrained by the time. So if we outsource, give responsibility to somebody else, other than building the capacity, this will definitely help us to save on the time.
Just I would like to add that it's wrong to say that it's never happened. Like in case of fall armyworm, there was ad hoc registrations granted. Then there are many exigencies which allow. I mean, recently it was mentioned that for drones, we leapfrog. I mean, we didn't even wait for other countries and we didn't know how it would pan out. But we are at the forefront of the drone revolution now. So it has happened. It should happen more frequently. That is what is the bottom line.
So there is a possibility that it can happen only
Yes.
if all of us can work together.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Now I come to Vipin ji, Vipin Saini from BASI. Sir, any things left for whatever has already been said by the two panelists? So if you can add to whatever has been left out.
I believe our industry is one of the most privileged ones. We still establish and also bear the fruits of provisional registration being granted in the case of biopesticides. Biofertilizers are reasonably taken care of under the fertilizer control order. Biostimulants have recently been inducted into the existing notified order of the Essential Commodity Act, which we all commonly known as the FCO. And so I wouldn't say much about that, but what I would certainly do is, as we biologicals also have the distinguished advantage of that not to be taking care of. I mean, We don't have to go for the MRL compulsion, which came out as a post-parliamentary standing committee report on pesticides in beverages. But yeah, I mean, and earlier in a session, somebody spoke about a nanotechnological development coming across. So what the regulators need at this point of time is to also understand, and under the existing two legislations which do take care of the regulatory process of agri inputs, one, the Insecticides Act, two, the Fertilizer Control Order, which again is a notified order, it's not an act in itself. So apart from these, none of the regulators, in the true spirit, FCO has candidly stated about it in a gazette that whatever the DBT has come out with the guidance document, we will accept it. But has anybody actually read that document? It's a tremendous guidance document, and no one can, think of complying to the whole legislation. So regulators within the Insecticides Act, within the FCO, need to further establish the exact kind of data that is required to be complied by the applicant. Now, for an example, in nano, quoting an example of herbicides, the subsequent crop efficacy and residue has to be done. Similarly, if you see in nanotechnology, apart from the extensive toxicological profile that has to be given, you will find that even the produce of that nanotechnological intervention, agri inputs, needs to be further evaluated both toxicologically and otherwise also. So nobody is touching upon that. I would request Brajesh ji also, if you could take it up. We've already written a letter to you on nanotechnology. Please do take it up because it is the need of the hour. Products are floating across the country, but the regulation is not there, and as long as I'm not declaring that my technology is nano, it poses a ecological threat also in that regard. Two, I would agree and also disagree with my fellow panelists on innovations. Previously also, everybody stressing upon the regulations. Now the regulator himself has got their own constraints in meeting up challenges. Technology is going far ahead, regulations are back, experts are even back. And none of the regulators or the industry people, unfortunately, I come from the family background which was involved in the Insecticides Act implementation also, so I can run you through. None of us are trying to go into the historical events of there from where we can pick up very good things. For an example, everybody's talking about environment sustainability in that regard. So therefore, if you see the relatively safer formulations, the category was altogether wiped out by the registration committee because they felt that if I have the exact wording, you'll see how silly it is. The same RSF category was established long back with certain scientific evidence of going across, coming across from EC to granules. And if you see the Guyton's protocol was far more scientifically justified, wherein they said that if a product has got an EC, a granule can be found with far, far lesser that thing. So that was data bridging at that point of time, way back in the early 70s. And now, if you talk about a separate queue, I would certainly urge all. I'm not distinguishing between multinationals, nationals, we all are together over here in this regard. I would certainly urge all of us to come together and fight not with the regulator, but try to find a way out to re-establish 93B provisional registrations for new products coming into the country, new innovations. They can be technicals, they can be formulations. There has to be a way, and if we continue to blame the regulators that you are not doing this and that, we really need to help them because their hides are tied up because there is a parliamentary standing report committee on it which says until or unless an MRL is not published, you cannot sell that chemical product out over here. So now with new innovations, Ravi, coming across and new formulations coming across where residual limits may be well within the prescribed limits. Why can't those pesticides be actually given a footnote that those kind of pesticides can be exempted? Exempted in the meaning that the data can be awaited across over a period of time and let it come into it. And if the system says that 93B, it is not working, it is having residual impact in exports or domestic commodity products, so fair enough. The product may be withdrawn from the market and for till further evaluation is there. But till that time, particular time, since under 93B, the guidelines are fairly relaxed on all parameters, these things should be taken across. I believe
Thank you.
Yeah, just an intervention. What Raju made in the earlier session was very important, in the sense that there's no silver bullet, one single silver bullet, which will, help the farmers in tackling the various problems that are coming. So he made an important point of IPM and all of that. So I think we are all talking about in the same language on how to benefit the farmer ultimately. And we should all have a broad spectrum vision rather than a narrow vision to get all of what we are talking about in the hands of the farming community.
Yeah, I'll just add over here. I mean, taking the case of IPM, most of the people have this notion that IPM talks only about biologicals or so. It is not the case. Please go through the IPM package of practices. It goes in a systematic way. And nowadays, I feel and I don't see anybody talking actively about threshold limits, which was exactly the basis of IPM. So those things need to, and I totally agree. Yeah, the things are there.
Thank you, Vipin ji. Girish, if you can talk about the decriminalization part of it, because nobody has touched this point, and you don't have much time, because I will wrap it up by 2:30 so that we can have lunch, and we will have just 30 minutes of break for lunch. So your time starts, sir.
Thanks, Pravin, and I'll just I'll try to be as precise as I can. And first of all, good afternoon, everyone of the dais, on the dais. And yes, let me come to your question straight away. The decriminalization, yes, it is happening today in India. And we must compliment to the government of India for taking up special initiatives. And, even they are passing the laws to revoking such laws, which are creating obstacles for, towards ease of doing business. And recently the Ministry of Commerce and Industry has passed Jan Vishwas bill. And the bill was emphasizing on the trust-based governance for ease of doing business. And I'll give a small figure, statistics. The bill, the purpose was to to focus on the decriminalization of the minor offences and punishments of, and they have almost 42 central laws has been cut, and under the provision of 183 provisions. And even during the budget, our Honorable Finance Minister, Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman, has also emphasized on ease of doing business. And, with more than 39,000 compliances has been cut down. And over 3,400 laws were decriminalized. But the figure in the pesticide industry is not same. It's not the same in the pesticide industry. As we all are aware that the PNB is in the parliament, and as we delve into the nitty-gritties of the PNB, after doing so many consultations with the stakeholders, with the industry associations, with other bodies, many recommendations has been sent for decriminalization of minor offences, but it has been ignored. On the contrary, the punishment under the minor offences has become more stringent and harsher as compared to Insecticides Act 1968. So this is slightly disheartening. And the reason is, as my previous speaker has said, the agrochemical industry is one of the champion sector. Export exceeded imports. We are working on newer and greener chemistry. During the COVID times, you must have noticed that there were many sectors who were not functioning actively, but the agrochemical sector was the one who was functioning well and supporting the farmers to combat the to feed this growing population of India, not just the India but globally. The companies are spending a lot of money on R&D, bringing in the green chemistry for the farmers, and still, if anything goes wrong in the rural sector with regards to the crop failure, the blame will come to the pesticide industry. Now, everyone is aware, even the government is aware that agriculture is the backbone of the Indian economy. And pesticides, agrochemicals are one of the critical inputs. So it is high time that, government should think to soften the laws for this agrochemical industry as well. Plus, since agriculture is a state subject, so I'll request the government of India, central and state, to come together and work on the policies to find out, to make the policies to differentiate between the genuine players and the fly-by-night operators, which is the need of an hour. So I'll finish here, but before I finish, just a food for thought that, when decriminalization can be done in the Insecticides Act, Consumer Protection Act, even in pharma, why it cannot be practiced in the pesticide management bill?
Vipin ji, your 30 seconds. Thanks, Girish ji. Your 30 seconds.
Yeah, thanks, Prashant. Another thing I'd just like to state over here that, agrochemical summit. Now, agrochemical means pesticides and fertilizers. And as I stated that biologicals do not have a separate legislation at the moment, and therefore they have been inclusive of the Insecticides Act and the Fertilizer Control Order. So therefore now the challenge poses for especially microbials, wherein there is a thin line of demarcation that separates a microbial from expressing itself primarily as a crop protection product, as a biostimulant or a biofertilizer. Therefore, the need is for a consolidated separate legislation for microbials in this regard, along with pharma most probably, and the works are going on in the government. You may see it in the next couple of, I won't say months, but a couple of years probably, that's going to happen. So yeah, this is what I wanted to just touch upon at this point of time. Thanks, Prashant.